The toe-tapping music, I mean, it's the best music in the world. You kids that have never heard a tune before will walk in here and they'll be tapping their toes and bouncing up and down and grinning from ear to ear. Little kids, I love to watch a little kid come in that has never seen a carousel before, and they walk in there and all those lights are on and those horses are spinning around and their face just lights up. All you can see is teeth, they're grinning from ear to ear. But you get the same results from a 70-year-old adult that hasn't seen a carousel since they were a little kid. And they walk in and they see that machine going around, and sometimes you see tears coming out of their eyes. I mean, they are remembering things from long ago. The youngest rider we have had on our wooden machine was 4 days old, and our oldest to date that I know of was 99 years. We have quite a bit of different things to do. First off, you can come in and ride the big carousel, the 1913 wooden one. And then we're open 4 days a week from Thursday through Sunday. We have a birthday party room for the little kids that adjoins the big carousel, where they can sit in there and have their birthday cake and watch the carousel go around. We have a larger capacity room for about 100 people that we have used for multiple different things, from family reunions to class reunions to wedding receptions to you name it, we got it. We have the carousel room itself, which can hold up to 100, almost a little over 100 people, if they want to have the carousel as a centerpiece for their party. You'll find 4 operating carousels. You'll also find all kinds of carousel artifacts, most of which were made by C.W. Parker, who is a manufacturer right here in Leavenworth, and manufactured more carousels than any other manufacturer in the world. And Leavenworth itself has produced more carousels than any other city in the world. Supposedly, there's a story that he took his daughter to see the first carousel she had ever seen and conned her father out of getting 75 cents of the $1 he had to buy the week's groceries. And that was such a shock to him that he decided that if his daughter could get that much money out of him, that anybody's daughter should be able to get that out of their father, and that particular device was a money-making device, and that's why he got into building. This Carousel Museum is a non-profit organization. All of the people that work in it are volunteers. The only one that gets paid is the guy that cleans the restrooms. We don't have enough volunteers, so we can always use more. We welcome you to come down and help because we like to be open at least 6 days a week. We don't make money per se. It all goes back into the community or to pay for the operation of the museum. This organization was started by a small group of people that wanted to preserve the history of Leavenworth. They went into it with the idea of having a small sample of what had been produced here in Leavenworth. And someplace along the line, they learned about the carousel business of C.W. Parker and thought, well, it'd be nice to have a carousel here in Leavenworth. And they went about trying to find one. They went through the National Carousel Association and did discover one that was in storage in Baraboo, Wisconsin, in Circus World, and managed to get a hold of the owner of that carousel and made an offer, and he was accepted, and it came to Leavenworth to be restored. The head of that group was Betty and Bernie Phillips, and they had a shop over on west end of Cherokee in his workshop, and they did restore 3 horses. No, 2 rabbits and 2 horses. We had it in storage down there where the First City Museum is now. And that was an old automobile shop, repair shop, and it was it was covered with about 1 inch of grease on the floor. We had to clean all that off first. And it was right on the street. It had a great big garage door we could open. And as we worked in it, started working on it, people would walk by and hear the racket and the noise and the jokes and everything else going on, and they'd come in to see what was going on, and we'd put them to work. We'd have them sanding horses or scraping paint off of things and some rough assembly work, and they became the team, the volunteer team that restored the carousel and the mechanism. And it just sort of it just sort of happened. The community collected behind us, and sometimes we'd have 20, 25 people in that shop working on various sorts, anything from little kids to adults, senior citizens, and everybody was in there. We were looking for funding just to get enough money to buy a can of paint, kind of thing. But it was done slowly, but the businessmen and the business people of Leavenworth donated funds to help out. So it wasn't a great deal of money at the very beginning, because all we were working on were the horses. We didn't have a place to work on the mechanism. In fact, we didn't know how the mechanism even went together. It was a big pile of junk on one side of the workshop there. And it literally was piled all on top of itself, because the center pole, which you can see out there, weighs about 1.5 tons, I swear, was right on top, and we couldn't move anything or that center pole would fall down and kill somebody. But that was the kind of organization we had when we started out. So we decided to do every other pair of animals on that machine white, regardless of what they had been before. And it worked. It brightened the machine up. Now when that thing is spinning, every other pair that goes by you is white. And the original colors of almost any horse color you can imagine, we tried to keep. So we've got pintos, we've got browns, we've got blacks, we've got whites, and combinations thereof. Parker used nails when he was constructing his horses. We have to pull those nails out, because those nails today, with any kind of dampness, cause wood rot. And all metal was replaced with wooden dowels, pounded and glued into place. So the horses are just as strong, but instead of quickly driving a nail in, you have to drill it and then put in a dowel of the right size. Anything that was damaged in the original wood had to be pulled off and recarved and then replaced in the carousel horse, whatever part it came out of. The common thing that was always broken or missing was the legs, the ears, sometimes a chunk of body here and there, but most of the time, most of the damage was to the legs. So we'd pull them off, and if we could use the original wood and save it, we did. But if it was beyond repair or rotten, which it often was after 100 years, we just recarved it. But we recarved it using the same style that Parker did. Parker had a very simple way of making his detail on his horses. Most of them, to indicate a muscle, it was simply a gouge cut with a gouging tool. He didn't really shape the muscle the way it was originally, a real horse has it, for instance. So we copied Parker, and basically that's what we did. There was 3 wood carvers that did that, and we'd replace those parts and start sanding them in, and then the city would come back in, and the city people, and they would do most of the finish sanding. And we used to have a saying in the shop: that piece of wood has got to be sanded as smooth as a baby's bottom. And if it wasn't as smooth as a baby bottom, it didn't make the cut. They kept working. All the artifacts that we have on the 2nd floor of this museum, which most people don't even know is there. But there's hundreds and hundreds of Parker parts from all parts of his history upstairs on display. And then you come back and you get to ride on the big 1913 C.W. Parker. Carry us all. And that's what Parker called it. Carry us all. And if you say that fast enough, it comes out Carousel. But that was his own name. He was a showman. He did things like that. You're going to find this carousel is run different than most carousels you've probably experienced. This one is fast. And when it runs, you hang on, because it's the ride of a lifetime. The kids love it. The adults love it. Most of us have ridden on a carousel in our lifetime, but none of you have ridden on a carousel like this one built by C.W. Parker. This is one of the fastest carousels in the country, perhaps in the world. It really moves, and you're going to hang on and get the ride of a lifetime.